I am Alice of KHR Arts and Cloud Orchid Publishing, and today we are going to talk about The American Duchess Guide to 18th Century Beauty by Lauren Stowell and Abby Cox. This book is a bit of a departure from what I usually present on this channel, and a big part of it is because, first of all, I really love this book, so I'm going to share it with you, and this is my channel, and I can just do whatever I want, so there. But the other part of it is because y'all know me. What good is a book with no pictures in it? And let me tell y'all, this book has so many pictures in it. Oh my goodness, so many great pictures. So yeah. This book is a comprehensive, this book is like a composite report. I would say it's very similar in the spirit of what I created with my book Geisha Hands, in that this book details how-tos on how to do stuff. It details a lot of historical information, and it also details a lot of anecdotes. To get a little more specific on what on earth I'm talking about, this particular book is specifically about 18th century beauty in France. So we're talking like Marie Antoinette stuff, which, first of all, of course, that's why I love this book. Let's all be real. Marie Antoinette anything, I'm so there. And so it largely talks about hair. It mainly focuses on hair and the things that they put on their heads. And what I found really fascinating was that in a lot of cases, they didn't necessarily only use wigs, that in a lot of cases, they also had their natural hairstyle too. And one of the how-tos is literally they took a historical how-to guide on, from a hairdresser from the 18th century who wrote a how-to guide on how to style this stuff. And they translated it from 18th century French to modern day English in this book, which bravo to them. Holy crap, wow. And the authors are also like me in that they're like, oh yeah, Marie Antoinette, so there. But they also actively do this. They're the kind of people where it's historical LARPing, where they will make the clothes themselves and make the stuff themselves, and they learn the historical way to do the makeup and to do the hair and to use the materials the original materials as much as they can, as long as it's safe. They don't use the lead paint and stuff like that, but they detail how to do all this stuff. But then they also actually sat and did it so that they could be okay, I followed the steps and I did the steps, and this is how it turned out. These are the mistakes that I made. This is how to not do those mistakes, stuff like that. So it was just very cool that they also detail yeah, and we went on this magical journey doing the things that we included in this book, and we're going to tell you about it. And I just thought that was so much fun. It just added that extra layer of experience with this book. And they also talk about the lace headwear that they would put, which was traditional in Versailles, the lapel, which they traditionally wore down. It was very trendy, and people were like, oh, so scandalous. One pins up their lapel. What are you doing? That whole thing. And then also the hats that they wore and why they wore the hats they did, how they put the hats on, how that correlated with their hair and all that stuff. The bonnets that they wore to protect their hair, the stuff that they wore when they were in between when they needed to go to the hairstylist, but they hadn't gone to him yet. What did they do with their hair then? All that kind of stuff. And just also all the pictures. There's just so many pictures to look at in here. It's just a smorgasbord of beautiful pictures and art to look at. It's a combination of actual photographs of them doing this. So here's a good picture of them actually attempting the hairstyles. And then they have historical images. Ah, here we go. Okay. So then they have historical portraits and images, stuff like that, from the actual time period, so that you can get a sense for, you know, what stuff actually looked like back then, as opposed to like the modern photos that they took for actually executing this stuff. And they actually like sewed the headdresses and things like that themselves. They actually constructed them, and they're like, yeah, this is how we did it, and this is how you can do it too. So, and they have patterns in there too that you can follow. So it's a very informative guide, and I'm also a dork like that, where I love informative things, even if I never personally am going to sit down and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to spend all day like styling my actual real natural hair like Marie Antoinette with like cornstarch and pig fat. That's not a thing I'm going to do, y'all. I have had my hair styled like Marie Antoinette twice in my entire life, and I don't ever plan on doing it ever again. It did both times. It took several hours and a lot of hairspray and so many bobby pins, and my neck hurt afterwards. So yeah, no, it's not a thing I'm even capable of doing by myself. It's fun to read about and it's fun to imagine. It is very fun to imagine. But I'm sure that there are other people who do historical LARPing that would find this very helpful. As well as it's also a great resource for if you're a person who also writes historical fiction like me. Like this is going to be one of my resources. I am eventually going to write a Marie Antoinette historical fiction novel, and this is going to be one of my resources that I use. I have a whole bookshelf that's just 18th century France, to be honest, that I'm going to use for that novel. But yeah, like it's a great resource for better understanding these like very everyday things, like getting your hair done and, you know, oh no, I haven't seen the hairstylist, I'm past due for that, I got to put this thing on my head so I don't look ridiculous, and all that kind of stuff. It's so helpful to have that kind of insight to what their lives actually looked like so that you can craft an authentic story around that. I so much enjoyed this book. I love a good book with pictures in it. I highly recommend it. They also have some videos on their website about some of the stuff that they did. They have actually some video of them like doing the styling. They have some events that they went to where they show off the styling after the fact. Just a lot of cool resources in addition to the book. So highly recommend. A very fun time. So I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to give it a like. And if you're new, subscribe. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.